"Get out of here. You are bad for business." The words cut through the evening air like a blade. People turned. Some stared. Most looked away. The old man did not argue. He did not beg. He only stood there holding a worn paper cup in his shaking hands, as if he had been told this sentence many times before. And no one knew that within the next hour, one small act of kindness would bring him to his knees. The crowd moved around him like water around a stone. Cars rolled past. The smell of roasted nuts and fresh bread drifted from nearby food stalls. Laughter rose from restaurant patios, where glasses sparkled under warm lights. He stood there, thin shoulders slightly bent, gray beard untrimmed, clothes faded by time. To the world, he was just another poor man taking up space. But his name was Adrian Vale, and once, years ago, he had stood in a different kind of dust. Back then, he wore a uniform instead of rags. The desert sun had burned his skin. The air had smelled of metal, smoke, and fear. He had been young, strong, and certain. A soldier who believed that service meant something sacred. He remembered the weight of his gear pressing into his shoulders, the taste of dry sand between his teeth, the sound of his friend Marcus laughing in the dark just hours before an explosion took that laugh away forever. Marcus had died in Adrian's arms. The memory never left. The warmth fading from a friend's body, the silence that followed the chaos, the heavy guilt of surviving when others did not. After the war, Adrian returned home with medals in a drawer and storms in his mind, built businesses the way he once built defenses, brick by brick, risk by risk. He turned pain into discipline, discipline into success. Within 20 years, he was a billionaire, yet wealth did not quiet the questions that woke him at night. Had the world changed? Did people still see each other? He donated quietly, but he wanted to know something deeper. Did kindness still exist when there was nothing to gain? So he began a private ritual. Once a month, he dressed as a poor man and walked his own city. No security, no name, no protection from truth. And truth was often cruel. That evening, a restaurant manager had shoved him aside. A young couple had laughed as they stepped around him. A man in a sharp suit had dropped a coin near his feet without even meeting his eyes. Adrian felt each small wound, not as anger but as confirmation. People moved fast. They judged faster. He lowered himself onto a cold bench near the bus stop. That was when she arrived. Her name was Elena Torres. She wore scrubs under a thin sweater, the color faded from too many washes. Her hair was pulled back in a loose braid. Dark circles rested under her eyes like shadows that never fully left. She worked 12-hour shifts at the city hospital. She lifted patients twice her size. She held hands when families could not arrive in time. She whispered comfort into rooms that smelled of antiseptic and quiet fear. Now, that day had been harder than most. A child she had cared for over months had taken his final breath just before sunset. Alina had stood still beside the bed long after the machines went silent. She carried that weight with her now. In her bag was a small container of rice and beans. It was her dinner. The last of what she had at home until payday. Her rent was due. Her car made a strange sound when she turned left. Life pressed on her from every side. As she approached the bus stop, she saw him. Most people saw a problem. She saw a person. He looked older up close. His hands were cracked and red from cold. His eyes held a quiet sadness that felt familiar. To her, she sat beside him without hesitation. For a moment, neither spoke. The city moved. Headlights swept across their faces. Somewhere nearby, someone laughed loudly. Alina opened her container. Steam rose gently into the cool air. The simple smell of rice and beans drifted between them. She paused. She looked at him again, and then she held the container out. "You look like you need this more than I do." There was no performance in her voice, no pity, only simple truth. Adrian's chest tightened and prepared himself for rejection, for disgust, for indifference. He had not prepared for this. He shook his head at first, as if refusing might protect her from her own kindness. She gently insisted. "Food tastes better when it is shared." He accepted the container with trembling hands. The warmth seeped into his palms. For a second, he could not swallow, not because of pride, but because something deep inside him cracked open. He took a small bite. It was plain, soft, honest, and it was the most valuable meal he had eaten in years. Around them, people continued walking. Few glanced over, curious but uninterested. One man smirked, whispering to his friend about foolish generosity. Lena did not notice. She only asked him his name. He answered softly, "Adrian." She smiled. "That is a strong name." He asked her about her day. She told him about the child who had passed. Her voice did not break, but her eyes grew distant. She spoke of holding the mother's hand, of staying even. After her shift ended because leaving felt wrong, "Some battles are quiet," she said, "but they matter just the same." Adrian felt those words settle into his bones. They studied her worn shoes, her tired posture, the way she rubbed her wrist absent-mindedly from strain. She was fighting wars too. Different battlefield. Same courage. "Why would you share your last meal?" he asked gently. She shrugged. "Because one day I might be the one who needs it. And I hope someone would not look away." Composure shattered. A single tear slipped down through the dust on his cheek. Then another. He had faced gunfire without flinching, negotiated billion-dollar deals without blinking. But this simple act undid him. Alina noticed his tears and grew concerned. "You are not invisible." Those words echoed louder than any applause he had ever received. Adrian reached slowly into his coat. But Adrian pulled out a small leather wallet. From it, he removed a simple metal card. Not flashy, not gold, just clean and engraved. He placed it gently in her hand. "Tomorrow morning," he said, "go to this address. Ask for me." She looked confused. The name etched on the card was not Adrian. It was Adrian Vale, the man whose name crowned hospitals and towers. Her eyes widened. She looked back at him, at the beard, the torn coat, the tired posture. He was not pretending to mock the poor. He was searching for something, and she had given it to him. The next morning, Alina stood nervously in the marble lobby of Vale Industries. People in tailored suits walked briskly past her. She felt small in her simple clothes. But then the doors opened. Adrian entered. No disguise this time. Clean suit. Straight back. Presence that filled the room. Gasps moved like a ripple. Through the staff, as he walked directly toward her, he stopped in front of her and bowed his head slightly. "Last night, you gave a stranger your last meal. Today I want to give you something in return. Full funding for a new pediatric wing. Equipment was upgraded. Staff numbers doubled. Families received support they once only dreamed of. But Adrian's greatest gift to her was not money. It was recognition." At the grand opening, he spoke before a quiet crowd. "True wealth is not what we keep. It is what we give when no one is watching." He turned to Alina. "Strength does not always wear a uniform. Sometimes it wears tired shoes and still chooses kindness." The crowd rose to their feet, not in noise, but in respect. Alina stood there, overwhelmed, remembering a cold bench and a small container of rice and beans. Adrian met her eyes one last time that day. "You reminded me why I built all of this," he told her quietly. "Not for power, for people." The city did. Still busy crowds, still moments of indifference, but somewhere in that city square, kindness had shifted the balance. A billionaire had searched for proof that humanity still breathed beneath status and speed, and a tired nurse, with almost nothing left to give, had answered him. A world quick to judge, silent dignity still wins, because the strongest hearts. They are the ones that give, even when giving costs everything. If this story moved you, share where you are watching from. Tell us about a time when someone showed you kindness when you least expected it.